going to call to order. This is a regular meeting of the Shade Tree Commission of the Borough of Fairhaven. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. This meeting is being presented through the Zoom meeting platform. Public participation for this May 4th, 2022 Shade Tree Commission meeting is available by call-in phone number or through web conference Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute till the portion for public questions, comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question or comment by phone or through Zoom by the raise hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and the Star Ledger on January 28th, 2022, posted on the Borough website, the bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice having been given, the Shade Tree Commission Secretary is directed to include this statement in the minutes of the meeting. Christy, would you mind doing a roll call, please?
Vigani.
Present.
Diagati. Absent. D'Angelo. Hoey.
Here.
Paolo.
Here.
Reed. Absent. Sullivan.
Here.
McKee. Absent. Larson. Absent.
All right, well, that is four. We are, I mean, just for everybody who may be interested, we are a commission of 7 members and 2 alternates. So in order to have a quorum, you have to round up from half. So half of 7 would be 3.5. So rounding up to that would be 4. And as much as I want Gwen to count, she might count for the half, you know, like, but anyway, yes, we are legit today because we are 4. And it's good that we have our liaisons as well. So we can operate as we normally would. Can you stand and join me for a Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
All right, guys. So,
for you.
Oh, hey, Chris. How are you? We should make Chris stand up and do the pledge just for being tardy.
I actually got in just as that was going on. So I'm recording open.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. Now we are officially official. May the 4th be with you. Star Wars Day. Anybody think that's funny? I think that's funny. All right. So we will, has anybody had a chance to review the prior meetings minutes? Hey, Dr. Mike. Well, I took a look and they all looked pretty good to me, and make a motion to approve the prior meetings minutes.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Approved. All right. We'll jump right into project updates. I know we have a light group tonight. So what we'll do is we'll try to get as many of these project updates out of the way, and then we'll have, time for Ms. Sparrow. Am I saying that correctly?
Spiro.
So Sherry Spiro is the certified tree expert for the town, coming to us from CME Associates. Maybe after we get through the project updates and we kick to you, if you could just kind of give us a little bit of a background and an overview of what CME is as well, that would be helpful. All right, so Green Team, Love Where You Live Day, Andrea. She sent an email that I got. I can pull up here. Her updates are first about Sustainable Jersey. That is one of the grants that we are applying for through the Green Team. I'm sure Councilwoman Neff could add here, but it sounds like she's putting together some documentation regarding that hazardous tree maintenance plan. In the hopes that it's enough to submit and receive credit for the Sustainable Jersey grants. That's all being quarterbacked by Kelly from the Green Team. Andrea will keep us posted if need be. Lilina, anything you want to add to the sustainable Jersey part?
No, maybe Tracy wants to comment. I have nothing to add.
Okay.
Just to share that they're all really scrambling, and the deadline is coming up in June, right, Lilini? There's a lot of action, so if you're willing to put a half an hour in somewhere, that probably help the green team get another 10 points here or there. So if you're interested.
Fair enough. If anybody has any interest in doing that, please contact either Andrea or Councilwoman Neff. Tracy, are you on the green team as well, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I help them.
Councilwoman Cole or Councilwoman Neff can get you in the right direction.
The right person is Councilwoman Cole. You should direct any questions to her.
Thank you. Appreciate the clarification. All right. Secondly, obviously we have the big event, the Love Where You Live event on Saturday the 14th. I know that is from 10 to 2. There are all sorts of great ideas of what we can do at the booth, and I think Andrea has shared that she made a pledge to protect our trees, a poster board where people can write their name and add a leaf to the branch, so to speak. There's some children's books to give away. We have some tube seedlings that have arrived and are under Christie's expert care at Borough Hall.
Trust. I did take them home today and watered them and have them in a bucket because hopefully they will survive till Saturday.
Just talk to them. Give them your peace of mind about like what happened today. And
yeah.
That's
really
great.
Cute.
Thank you for doing that. How big are they, by the way? They can't be more than, are they like, how big are they?
The tube is plastic, and I just emailed the NJUCF where we bought them because I think we should hand out or at least have instructions for care.
Yeah.
With them, it's like, say this is my paper. The tube is about this. It's a plastic tube, and there's one northern red oak kind of like blossoming off the top.
Sure. Okay.
So they all fit in one beach bucket because they're very narrow. And I have them all in there, so it won't take up a lot of room for your display.
Okay.
But there's 30 we ordered.
Okay. And we agreed that anybody that wants one needs to follow us on social media. That is the give or take, correct? Well, anyway, as we get to deciding who's at the booth that day, let's remember that as far as social media follows. Let me just.
I hope they have the space because they can. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Spiro, but I think they grow pretty big. The northern red oaks, don't they?
They do, but the size you're getting them at, it's going to take a very long time. So they could pot them for now. You could recommend them put it in a large planter.
Yeah, I think that would be. I think that's probably a good point of clarification. Kind of similar to the white oak thing. It's just it's going to be in a planter for a while until we find a permanent home for it. I mean, what I have is not even 2 feet tall, and it's 100 years from now it'll be magnificent. But yeah, red oaks. I'm kind of feeling like I should have got the eastern redbud instead of the red oaks. But I figure since we're a shade tree commission, I'd rather go with the shade tree as opposed to the more ornamental version.
It's the state tree too.
Red oak is state tree. See, it's something we should know as a shade tree commission. That's great. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Let me just go back to Andrea's email real quick. Yeah. So, yep. She's got, she's hoping to be able to hang the poster somewhere. I think we talked about some fun facts, some other giveaways. Andrea purchased 20 children's books about trees. And I think we should make sure that we're letting the social media world know that there's well, I think you already have, Leah, just the fact that we're going to have this Love Where You Live event seems to be already posted pretty prolifically.
Yeah, Kristen posted it today.
Okay.
And I'm working on the brochure for the event.
Okay.
And I'll have also our social, I think we can I'll make like a poster with the QR code to follow us.
That would be really great. I think that's really, it makes things so much easier if we can just if they can just, like you said, just snap it and all of a sudden we're there. Cool. So I guess we should.
I also had these stickers.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, I'm picking them up tomorrow. So
they really turned out great. Good job. That's awesome.
Thank you. So yeah, we'll have 150 of those. Yeah, like I said, I'm getting them tomorrow.
That's great. And I expect to see one on every one of your cars by the next
Or water bottles too.
Yeah, well, I think the cars. Yeah. Okay, great. So I think we should talk about manning the booth. So the event is from 10 to 2. Since we don't have everyone here on the call today, Christy, can I ask you to send out almost like an email to the group asking for a volunteer in 1 hour shifts?
Sure.
I'm sure I'll be able to pick one of them. And it's okay if we're overlapping. I think that it would be great to have 2 people per hour. But if we can just kind of be organized about it. I don't think you need to be as organized as like a sign up genius or anything like that, but just an email to the group where people can reply back to you and update and just, make sure that there's somebody from the Shade Tree Commission there from 10 to 2.
I'll be in California, unfortunately.
You'll be in California?
I will.
Okay.
I'll be away as well.
Zoom booth duty,
Yeah, same. I'm happy to dial in.
I'll hug the largest tree I see there.
Perfect.
Big picture.
All right. So, well, yeah, hopefully we can have somebody manning the booth at all times. And Christy, maybe even put like a half an hour before and a half an hour after for setup and cleanup.
Yes, that's what they recommended.
Okay.
That they need help with.
Okay. And we'll deal with that as we get closer. If we don't have enough people, maybe we could, source the, I don't know, mayor or borough council president or something like that,
I'm going to be longer than an hour. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Leah, go ahead. And then Tracy.
Depending on the sports situation for the kids, I could potentially do more than an hour.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I think this is best kind of coordinated by Christy, and then we can see where it all stakes out. Tracy, you had something to say too? Sorry.
Oh, just that I'm going to be there for the day. I have a table I'm supposed to man, but I'm sure I can float a little bit, and so I'll be happy to fill in or be there. Maybe we could put the tables near each other. Can I share something for you guys to think about? So this is, I don't know if this is going to work. Maybe I'll just email it. Christy, should I send this to, I want to show you a picture of a giant oak tree with insects. It's beautiful. If I share it with you, Christy, would you be able to put it up on the screen? Well, Dave, how about if I give it to you?
Yeah, can you send it to my email and then my Gmail, and then I can probably just grab the photo and share my screen?
Okay.
david.a.paolo@gmail.com.
Okay.
Tracy, you should be able to share your screen as well.
I don't know how to do it. It's in my.
Sounds like it's on your phone. Yeah.
It is. And I have to admit, I haven't done that yet. My day's coming, I'm sure. But I'll just quickly let you know, we can get this. I'm on deck to get it. It's in parts. And we can bring it or the top of it or potentially the whole thing to the Love Where You Live Day. And obviously there's somebody, I'll wait till the picture's up to tell you guys, or I'll let you guess who is the person behind the giant oak tree. But it might be fun to have something like that just to animate the table area and to celebrate the oak.
I don't see anything coming into my Gmail.
I'm sorry. Let's see. I'll double check. You want to go? If you want to carry on.
Yeah, let me carry on, and then we can circle back to that. We touched on. Well, actually, you know what? Let me just jump ahead to line item D because Andrea updated the plaque at the Normandy Park for the big tree hunt from last year. She's in in the final stages of discussing it with Wendy, who nominated the tree. So it's still kind of in progress, but it sounds like it's getting closer. Anyway, so I'll check that one off. Going back to social media, yeah, Leah and Kristen, you guys are doing a great job. I see lots of stuff for Shade Tree Commission out there, and all of what you have designed is tremendous. I could never do anything even remotely close to that artistic. Thank you so much for doing all that.
I think we're up to 107 followers now. So
we are
every week we grow more and more.
That's great. Good job, guys. Any like you said, I guess the most pressing issues from a shade tree standpoint would be this year's big tree hunt.
Yes, I made a graphic for it, and we'll post it tomorrow. Okay,
awesome, good. Yeah, that should, hopefully we get some submissions. There's a link, I think it's on NJUCF, that it'll tell people how to like measure the trees that they want to submit. And is that part of your graphics?
So I was I haven't set up a link tree for our account, which is a place where you can go into our bio and Instagram and then go to, it's like another program, but then you can put multiple websites and you can click from there. Okay. So I made the graphic, but I've never set up a link tree for Shade Tree. So I'll do that. And then I'll be able to put that link in there. I was trying to make it a little more straightforward. But I do have in there that it's on the New Jersey DEP website.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? You don't have to go the deep dive on it. That's fine. I could even envision a scenario where, and Christy, tell me if this is okay. Like if I see something on Facebook from the Shade Tree Commission's social media presence, and I share that then with like the Fairhaven community Facebook, and I put the link in that they could click on for instructions on how to submit a big tree. Is that okay to do that? Is that in violation of any sort of sunshine law, or is that okay?
I don't think so.
I think that's completely fine.
Yeah.
Then I will plan on doing that as soon as I see any big tree hunt mentioned in Facebook. I'll get it. I'll put the link out there so people can see.
Okay. We've been posting also to our Fairhaven, New Jersey group.
That's great. Yeah, I really like it. I think we're doing a great job, and I think it's getting, people, I think, see it, and hopefully it results in more trees planted and more activism, so to speak. So, excellent. Anything else on social media?
Let me just check what I did. No, I think that covers it. The big tree and then the pamphlet are what we're kind of focused on right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Tree inventory, Jill.
Okay, yeah, so where we are right now is I've kind of refined the document that I'm sending out to prospective vendors based on what we learned at the training, but also I feel like now as I'm peeling away more layers of this onion, that it's becoming, I guess, more refined, I guess is the way to say it. I did have a conversation with Nick Perchinsky this week and kind of got him on board on looking at the proposals when they come in from a software perspective, since his team will kind of be the ones that are going to be managing that. And he did give me some resources that I'm now incorporating into that document. I would say that I would love to have some eyes on this thing, but within the realm of what we're allowed to do. I know that I shared it before with a few people, but it's kind of more, it's definitely more detailed, and I don't want to call it a request for proposal. I want to say it's like our outline of our goals, so that the vendors know exactly what we're looking for. And the reason I don't want to call it a request for proposal is because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not writing contracts. So it's really just very detailed, like where exactly we're looking to have this inventory done, It has acreage, street mileage, stuff like that. But I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of like, it has to be done by this time and it has to be in this format, like, which is where I think a formal RFP looks like. So I would love, like I said, I would love like at least one other person to look at this, or two, maybe somebody from Shade Tree and somebody from council, just so it's not only me.
Since I was, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just thinking, since we have Miss Spiro on the line here, I'm assuming you have seen towns kind of launch their own tree inventory initiative from zero, and kind of maybe you have some experience with some of the software providers out there that that people have had success with.
Right. Yeah. So typically my office, the ones we've done in the past have been hazard tree surveys. Usually those are the ones we did. I actually just finished Howell Township's hazard tree survey, just like the other week. We use iTree. That's a free software. I'm assuming you might have come across that. It's probably the biggest one. So iTree is web-based. So you send yourself a link when you're out in the field, and then you access that link and you upload the information. And when you get back from field work, it gets put up in the cloud and it's saved that way so everyone else can access it too. And then it could be, excuse me, queried. You could ask how many was priority 1, priority 2, pruning, whichever you want to query. So that one's probably the most popular because it's free also.
Does it have capacity? Sorry, does it have capacity not just for hazard trees, but for like if we want
to it does a lot.
Inventory the tree resource we have here. I mean, it's kind of the idea that I think that for us to apply for grants, we have found that a tree inventory alongside a hazard tree plan is something that we seem to need. So that's
I know the state likes that.
Well, I think two things. One is that it's going to be a requirement to maintain our accreditation with the NJUSF. Is that right? UCF. But also the iTree, I definitely looked at that one. The challenge that we have is that we don't have the experience to identify a tree correctly, B, like assign a risk to it, a condition. And so we're looking to hire someone to do it. Now, one vendor definitely was using iTree, but I also talked with Tree Plotter, Planet Geo, like there's a few other ones that have in the past worked with municipalities who have applied for grants to pay for their tree inventories. So if you have any insight on that, maybe we could, talk offline and I could just tell you where I'm at and you could see if there's anything I'm missing. That would be great.
Sure. Right. So, I mean, you don't need to know the condition and rating and all that. That would be what your, the vendor would do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're looking for the person that's going to actually
you're going to hire
the inventory. The software, there's a couple of them. They all basically look the same.
I know the names, but I'm only familiar with iTree. I've never used any of the other ones.
Okay.
And Jill, would this be a situation that the grant would cover all the costs or most of it?
It would we would have to match it probably through man hours, through volunteer hours. So that would be something that we would be looking for. Now, if we went ahead and wound up using one of these softwares that was a fee for it, that would be a yearly fee. That would be something that we would have to budget for. But it's a couple $1,000s a year.
The grants, the state grants, you typically have to. So I think the max is what, $30,000 you could request, which then with the match becomes a $45,000 project.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the max is, but
I think that's the max.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
Surveys are expensive.
Yeah. Jill, I wanted to throw out something to think about in this process that you're in, because you've learned so much already. And sometimes when you're working through this kind of material that's going to ultimately result in this sort of live database that'll be managed over time and ultimately budgeted for, I think is what we should plan on aiming for. That's something to consider, Dave, when August rolls around and it's time to think about a budget for this next year. But there's a step off sometimes, but there's a step that I think you might want to think about at this point called an RFQ instead of an RFP. And an RFQ it's a request for qualifications, and it would allow the commission to essentially circulate an RFQ to then receive background material from multiple vendors that then you could collectively as a commission review, or someone could review one and summarize, and someone could review another one and summarize. But the vendors would tell you what they use, how they partner with the community, and what way they recommend funding, what's worked in the past. It would help to answer a lot of questions, but also give you some choices to see which is the best fit for the Fairhaven Shade Tree Commission.
Okay.
Jill, just a question. Did Teresa see any of this? I think you said you went through Rich Bardello.
Wait, say it again. I'm sorry. Did Teresa what?
Did Teresa Casagrande have a chance to see the document you're putting together? Because she might have some good input for it. She's used to seeing that. I think you said you were working with Rich.
No, I was working with Nick.
Nick, sorry.
Yeah.
I just thought, because you're saying you would like to, get some feedback. I just thought maybe it would be helpful to maybe share that what you have with Teresa for some of her thoughts.
Okay.
But, she handles a lot of that for the borough, so it would be good to bounce that off of her.
Okay.
You might have what you need already, Jill.
No, I think I might. I just don't want. I just would like I said, another set of eyes. So.
Always a good idea.
So Jill and maybe Miss Spiro, would you guys mind connecting offline about this? And then that could be step one. And then Teresa might also, as suggested, is a good resource for this stuff. So
sure.
Thank you, Jill. I know this is a heavy lift, and
Okay.
so thank you for taking this one on.
Sure.
I added a line item to the updates for the 2021 Trivet giveaway. The winner was at Hants Road, and we were going to give away an elm tree. I think I spoke to Bill Brooks today about the different paths we could take to put it in the ground, and we need to either go the DPW path, where we're then sourcing the tree from a nursery ourselves, or we're going down the path of let's use one of the current vendors that the borough has for tree and nursery and shrubbery installs, and just have them do it, or get a quote from one of those services. And so I'm just kind of I need Bill to get back to me from this conversation that he had with DPW, but I recognize that we owe 2 trees to the family on Hants Road that submitted the winning photo. So it's inching along, but not there yet. Do we know if Peter had an update on the Quonset cherry tree giveaway on Fairhaven Road?
He did not send one.
He and I are going to get together possibly next weekend and walk through the street and see if we knock on a few doors. That's sort of the plan right now. He said he thought the price estimates that he got were more expensive than he had expected. Mm-hmm. It was more like in the $550 to $600 range to plant each one. And then he thought that might cut back what we could possibly plant to maybe just 4 or 5. Is that your impression, David, as well?
Yeah. He said, I mean, I think we were all thinking like these are going to be like $200 trees, but if they're $500 trees, that obviously kind of eats into the quantity.
What size are you putting in?
Sorry, we're putting Quonset cherry trees into.
No, what size?
Oh, what do we say? 2.5 inch DBH. I thought was the what we were working with. I think Peter keeps using the term caliper, which is incorrect. We want to use DBH.
No, caliper is right for new trees. Nursery trees are sold by caliper. DBH are how you would measure a forested tree.
Oh, I see. So 2.5 inch caliper, is that measured at the base then?
It's 6 inches above. So yeah, it's pretty low down. It's not at breast height. And just to clarify, it's caliper with a P. A lot of people are caliber like a gun.
Yeah, caliper with a P. So it's okay. So 2.5 caliper is 6 inches up, and then what is that roughly? Like obviously, it would be skinnier at breast height.
A little bit, yeah. Okay. Not a lot. It's pretty close to the same when you get to the breast height. But yeah,
I don't think it hurts to ask if the homeowner wants to contribute something.
Yeah, just tree prices have gone up a lot. We just went to purchase some trees, and that size was about $225 wholesale, which is a lot. So typically, if you're doing install, when I bond trees for install, I'm multiplying it by 2.5 times. So $500 is about average.
Sounds right. Yeah, that's helpful perspective. Yeah, we have this. I don't know how informed you are on this particular plan, but if you've seen in Fairhaven Road in Fairhaven as it intersects with Ridge Road, there is this, this section near the end that has these 30 or so Kwanzaa cherry trees that are old and mature, and we just kind of had the idea that we started spitballing a couple meetings ago about just making that Kwanzaa cherry tree like the tree of the street of Fairhaven Road. And so instead of just at the end, we hope to, over the course of a decade, just populate more cherry trees down the road. And it's going to take, it's going to take some homeowner buy-in. It's going to take some town effort. And so this is, we're just looking to kind of get started, start by starting, put 10 in if you can. If we can't do 10, let's do 4, and so we'll just start where we can. The good news is that we have, and I believe the 2 houses, Councilwoman Neff, that were who's the developer, Sackman, that subdivided, and then they, with their landscaping plan, they put Kwanzaa cherry trees in. That was a conversation a few of us had with them, and they ended up did put the cherry trees in the front yards, 2 in each front yard, and maybe even one of the side yards. So. I'm not sure who was totally involved in that. Shara, you might have been involved in that one. And so thank you. That sounds like we're kind of like, hey, that's best case scenario when you have a developer, able to help in that regard. So were they Kwanzaas that they put in?
Yes. And they planted 5 in the front. So pretty nice.
Awesome. So we're halfway there. That's great. All right. Well, I'm thrilled with the way that worked out. So a great team effort there. Let me just actually see if Peter had any up. I'm sorry, I keep checking my emails. Tracy, I'm telling you, you've probably spelled my name with like an A at the end or something like that.
I did. I have so many emails for you, and I know most of them are wrong. So why don't I try to share this? Yeah, one of them is right. I just can never find that one. Can I try to share it? And yeah. Christy, you may want to give me some instructions. Sorry, I don't have a lot of experience with this. Whoa.
Do you have the picture up on your computer?
Yeah.
So then at the bottom center, there's a share screen icon next to the raise hand button.
I tapped that.
Yep. And then the picture should be something you could check off and then push share.
It says allow Zoom to share screen. Yeah. And then I have to, I'm sorry, guys. I have to allow that in system preferences. Huh.
Oh, on your end?
Yeah, there's something I have to do. I'm not sure how.
Because all panelists are permitted to share their screen.
Okay. Well, I'll just describe it for you. Do you want me to try to describe this? I mean, it's so much better to see it, but.
You want me to Google? Is there something I can Google? Is it an image that I can Google? Is it called something?
No, we have it. So I'll just tell you quickly. Bonnie Torsivia, our the champion for trees, especially oaks. She gave a speech, a major presentation. Doug Ptolemy was actually here in partnership with her presentation. And for this, a group of people got together and they constructed this. It looks to me like it's got to be 15 feet tall. It's a large oak tree with leaves, bugs, insects, of course, because it's a habitat. An oak tree is a habitat and it supports this, you know, important, right, food source for our pollinators. And it's a critical part of the ecosystem. So anyway, if you want, I'll volunteer to make arrangements in some way to get this physically over to Bicentennial Hall. And we can use whatever part of it we feel we can make use of, or all of it even. I don't know. How does that sound? I'll just make sure it's there that day.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
I think that, Bonnie is quite the champion of oaks, and she lent me Ptolemy's book. And, even within the first chapter, you do realize the kind of habitat that is created by one singular oak tree, and let alone, clusters them. So I think most people would benefit from some sort of visual that helps everyone understand how like one oak kind of amplifies the habitat of others. And so, yeah, if you have a visual, that would be great.
You got it. And there was some pamphlets and other material, but it obviously supports your giveaway too, because you're giving them away. So
yeah, very true. Right. Yeah, great. Thank you. Dr. Mike, tree ordinance review, anything? I know that we were at the stage of the borough attorney seeking the feedback of other attorneys and the tree experts. So have you heard from him at all?
Yes, and that was the impetus of me reaching out to Sherry Spiro, who Sora is informally or formally already introduced to our group. I think she's already been helpful and valuable in this discussion so far. I spoke with her about what the value of the trees we could be replacing in our mitigation program could be. She had some very good insight about the value of what we should recommend, the value of the trees that should be replaced, and also the types of trees that should be replaced, and also the size of trees that should be replaced. So maybe she can delve into that a little bit more, and then we can bring it back to our town lawyer and get that put into the ordinance.
Sure. So I did mention with him before about fees for permitting. I don't know exactly, where you'd like to fall, but I would say most permits that I handle range from, say, $35 to $100 per application. And usually that's based off of how many trees they're taking out. And then we also discussed tree size. So a lot of ordinances, some of them, as you remove the larger size trees, they ask for a 4-inch caliper replacement. I really just don't recommend doing that. 4-inch caliper trees are, first off, incredibly expensive, and they don't usually establish. It's a tough time to establish a 4-inch tree. And unless you really have someone checking, most people aren't going to plant a 4-inch tree after they see the price tag on that. So I would just recommend, if you want, do multiple trees at, the normal 2.5 inch size, but I really wouldn't go much bigger. What else? So I did go through the ordinance a little bit before the meeting, just to, so I did find some really minor mistakes, but some, spelling mistakes, some reference, landscape architect is referenced in there. It should be a licensed landscape architect, not a certified. And just like the tree expert, we're now licensed tree experts. It had been certified tree experts. So I'm now an LTE, not a CTE. So that should be changed because it's been like 5 years or something by now. So definitely reference it both for an LLA and an LTE. So I was confused reading it. So it might be clarified better with who is required to get a tree permit. It seemed like in the exempt, like who would be exempt from a permit, it said dead tree. But then later on, I thought it said that you still needed to get approval, you know, and verify that the tree's dead. So I would just recommend any tree coming down needs a permit. You know, because I have seen many people tell me that they need to remove their tree because it's dead and it's not dead. So, or I've also had people take down trees that were dead, assuming they didn't need a permit, then get a call from a resident that tree removal is going on. I run out and it's just a dead tree. So I usually tell people it's just easier to just say any tree removal, you need a permit. And then I could verify it's dead. And if someone calls, I could say, no, I saw that, it was a hazard, it has to come out, you know, rather than worrying that tree removal is going on that shouldn't be. So it is hard to verify, you know, hard to just trust that the people know that it's, you know, dead tree. So some of the towns I'm in, we don't charge for dead trees. If it's just dead tree removal, it's a free permit. Other towns, they charge the $35 just because, you know, someone has to go out. Let's see.
And Sherry,
yeah,
I mean, very good point about, because we were thinking about recommending, obviously, native trees. We're potentially recommending native trees in our ordinance for replacement, and also obviously telling people what the invasives are. And you had an interesting, very interesting take on that. I just wanted you to share that with the group, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. So as good as natives are, I don't really like to say that only natives are recommended, because there's really too many cases where you're going to put trees, it's not their native environment. You know, so if there's a shopping center, no tree is native to that. So you really shouldn't restrict only natives, because there's a good chance the natives won't even be able to grow in those type of settings. So certainly wouldn't recommend any invasives, but we do have non-natives that are perfectly fine for planting. Encouraging natives is fine, but it shouldn't be only natives. And on top of that, you know, with climate change, they've been talking about in a lot of our conferences to help the trees move north. So currently I don't, in all the plan reviews I do, if there's sugar maples on there, I ask them to take them off because we're just too hot for sugar maples. They're from the north and they just can't deal with this area. So I don't even let them, you know, stay on plan. So, and that's a native tree. You know, so they really, researchers are just saying we need to help them go north. So, you know, they just native, we might need the trees that are native to Virginia to come up this way. So
interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess with global warming, we should expect that there's, there's kind of a shift of what is native. Yeah, like what was appropriate and native 200 years ago is different than what it is today. That's really fascinating, actually.
Yeah. Sad.
Well, Ms. Sparrow, I think the takeaways from the tree ordinance review are going to be handled by there's a kind of a working committee that that kind of has some of the land use boards and the attorneys involved. So if you are available to whenever the next workshop is scheduled, I'd love your attendance on that, because I think your guidance would be really appreciated on somebody who sees a lot of different ordinances and has practically applied a lot of the rules to other towns. That would be helpful.
Sure.
Dr. Mike, was there anything else that we wanted to cover today on this subject?
I mean, Sherry, she's on, she helps out the Shade Tree Commission of Manalapan, Marlborough, Toms River, and she's on zoning and planning in Howell. So obviously she's got a lot of experience. She was very helpful with me in my conversation. We did discuss the value of a replacement tree, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry, it was around 300, but then we talked about potential costs of planting and maintenance and maybe a little bit up. But at least she can give us some insight into those values, because that's really what we're looking for now, is plugging and playing and getting those values into the ordinance so we can finally, hopefully tidy it up and get it out there.
Maybe we should think about the 550, 600 quote that we just received for the quads and cherries. And it's a real number that we can prove we paid for. And so 300 now sounds very low to me.
Yeah, it is though. That number includes furnishing. So technically I could buy a tree at, $300 and do it myself. So that 500 does include someone else to plant it.
Right. So so if it's a case that the town will be replanting it, not the homeowner or the builder, whoever that is, I think we need to account for that additional cost of hiring somebody to come here and plant it. So I would just keep in mind that $600. Otherwise, we'll be out of pocket again with the wrong number.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should err on the higher side. I think we're fortunate that Fairhaven is a town that can absorb those costs. The homeowners can absorb those costs, and I think we don't, like you said, you want to be out of pocket as a town if the costs are actually higher than what we're receiving.
And it would help encourage planting, because if the cost is higher, if it's $600, and you feel you could do it yourself, maybe you'll actually go out and plant the tree rather than just pay, because really you want to encourage tree planting in general. So, and if it's too low, developers are encouraged not to plant. If it's only say $250, and they can't get it planted and guaranteed like they usually need to for that cost, they won't bother to plant and they'll just pay.
They're essentially transferring the cost to the municipality. So that's why I think we need to, and if we're about to buy those plums and cherries, I think we can realistically look to them as proof of what we used as our guide.
Yeah, certainly more to come on the true ordinance review. But yeah, this is helpful perspective. Thank you.
Sure.
Can I also, Dave, just remember the shade tree as an adjunct to the ordinance? As part of that committee, there was a discussion about a sort of recommended tree. We were encouraging trees and sort of creating awareness with a handout of stuff on social media or on the webpage for people who wanted guidance about trees that might work in our area. Maybe Shari could look at that as well, just to add her knowledge. Because I think we do have a template we're working with, but maybe that should be expanded based on what she's shared with us today.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I think later down the list of the project updates, and unfortunately Chris Larson isn't here, but the native species list project, maybe we should retitle that to, I don't know, native species and recommended trees, project. Because I see other towns, and I think I always go back to the Rumson website where they actually have, based on like, are you looking for a shade tree? Here's a list of stuff that's ideal for Rumson. Are you looking for an ornamental? Here's a list of stuff that's ideal here. I don't know if that is specifically natives or if it is kind of like their version of a recommended tree list. But no, I think Shari makes a really good point about, just like natives is kind of confining. And I think that as we try to educate the town about what trees should be used in certain situations, I think that recommendations based on what might be appropriate 20 years from now is valuable. Tracy, is that what you meant?
It is. And I would just have one thing that I would add, which is, I don't know enough about this, except my question would be, if the goal is to have more trees, that's a worthy goal. But it seems to me there's also another goal about reestablishing a healthier ecosystem. And that's sort of a higher order goal. And I think natives are part of how we achieve that. My question for Shari and maybe others would be, if we broaden that to include ornamentals, say from Virginia, or plants that are native in Virginia up here, do we compromise that ecological or more elevated goal of recreating a healthier ecosystem here by including non-natives?
So with the discussion I was talking about with the sugar maples, so what they pointed out was the reason why they were like, the people have to help the trees, because if we just leave it up to the trees, they will eventually move north. It's just going to take too long. And the time span is because of the insects. So the insects will push up and they're going to have an easier time moving north, but the trees won't be there for them. You know, so as the temperature is warm, you know, say spring's earlier, and so if the flowers are open, but the bugs aren't here yet, or vice versa, you know, so it hopefully will all work together. But you know, that is another problem, is you want the trees to be flowering when the pollinators for them are there.
Yes. So
I think, I would imagine, Sherry, that you would include the birds as well, right? Because they will migrate, and I think that
that too. Yeah.
They can move faster than the trees, and I think that's probably where you're coming from, because I understand that the birds will move.
Right, but the trees will take
move that
too
quickly.
long. Right, because the birds will obviously,
ecosystem will be different.
Mm-hmm. And the birds will help move the trees, but certainly a bird, you know, that drops a berry, you know, or whatever, a squirrel that moves an acorn, or it's just going to take a really long time. It's going to be too late to wait on Mother Nature to do that.
Okay, so then it sounds like by expanding our idea about native to encourage trees that maybe are farther south and bring them north, it's actually helping to achieve the healthier, more robust ecosystem as well. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, and also I did speak with Dr. Mike about the list. So certainly you could put together a list, but I do recommend putting together a do not plant list. In some ways, that's, I think, a little more important. You know, so obviously we don't want pear trees anymore. They're just, we've really tried to encourage people to stop planting them. You know, and then there's a few others that, you know, you wouldn't recommend. So, and maybe even that might be helpful too. You know, don't plant a weeping willow next to the sidewalk, or, you know, it doesn't have to be don't plant a weeping willow, but there's areas that are more appropriate, you know, for planting locations.
That would be great if we could do that.
I love it. We got so many good ideas in the shade tree, in the current shade tree commission. This is great. Yeah, something else to pursue. Awesome. All right, we're jumping around a little bit here. But going back to the updates, Sportsman Field East tree line. No updates there. There's been no sort of movement on the actual the house that's on the site that's going to be taken down. But I'm staying on top of that one. So, Mr. McCabe, anything further on the Fairhaven Field Natural Area Firewood project?
We actually did it. We did that last weekend when we did the natural area cleanup. It wasn't just pulling vines. We put a lot of firewood actually near the town garden on the way, the little street to Mayflower, I guess it is, right? So we put a lot there. It's a pretty good turnout. Hopefully not everyone got poison ivy, but you know, it's pretty likely, I think, where we were. But it was good. There was a good number of people there, and I got to see what it would be like. And now we just have to kind of sign, you know, go through the legality of it and the rest of it. But it worked out well, and I think, you know, I think it'll proceed unofficially, maybe initially.
So what did you guys you found? So anything that was kind of like a downed tree, did you cut it and then move it?
Yeah, all the downed trees that were mostly encrusted with poison ivy, pricker bushes, and vines, we cleared out, and then the DPW brought their chainsaws and they would cut them up, and then they transported them there. So a lot of firewood was left there for people to take. They were going to tell people. I thought we would do the same. I wanted to go by there and see if there's any left before we announce that, but I'll do that tomorrow and email you. So,
yeah, that'd be great. And the social media team, it might be if there is any left over, it might be worth just popping it out there. But we'll need to hear that there's some left to go get.
let me know, Chris.
Okay. And Dr. Mike's son was there. Hopefully he doesn't have poison ivy. He was doing a great job on Sunday.
So far, so good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a little worried because the first day on Saturday, half the kids had no idea what they were, I was like, okay, the first thing we should do is see what that is. That's poison ivy. You don't want to touch that, and so now that the leaves are out, it was easy to identify. So, but it was a good day, and I think we made some progress on that end of it, and it'll, I think, carry forth. So.
Another social media post idea just came out. What does poison ivy actually look like? How many of the town's kids could actually identify it?
Not many.
Yeah, and I know, and sadly, I know that that's the Cub Scout and Boy Scout group that was there with you. So you would think.
Oh, it was bad. There's one tree where the root, the poison ivy grew up the tree and then branched out, so it looked like the tree was beautiful with all this new growth, and I'm like, that's all poison ivy, and it was it was head high, and it was really close to where people were pulling stuff down. It was like it can be a bush, it can be a vine, it can look like a tree. So I only know because I get it a lot. So.
All right. Well, thank you for the update. We could probably take that one off the agenda for next meeting there, Christy.
Yeah.
Moving on to the 2022 Big Tree Hunt. We already talked about it May 7th. I think getting the word out, social media is our goal. And we already talked about it. And then, if we can all just help people understand how to measure trees and where to submit it if they choose to participate would be good. And I also think that if people ask you about, is it only on May 7th that I can identify a big tree in our town? That is not the case. You can identify a tree at any point, and submit it for submit it for the state to add to the registry. So there is one that I have my eye on Hance that I think could be significant in specimen. So anyway, I think we've talked enough about Big Tree Hunt, unless anybody has any questions or comments.
Do we have a sense for what the record is? So if we go and measure,
so if you go online,
okay.
And I want to say it's New Jersey Forestry.
Yeah.
There is a registry of sorts that talks about specimen trees, and they have all these different terms, and I'm just forgetting them right now at the moment. But you could see they have a really great map that you could just drill down into certain towns, and like whoever has participated in the past, there'll be like a marker in like where it is in town.
Okay.
And Fairhaven has ours, and more coming.
Okay,
and
great.
So it's I just can't remember what heritage trees, specimen trees.
I feel like there's a landmark tree, but
landmark tree. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just look in the Forestry Service. It's there somewhere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right, Arbor Day Celebration, Dr. Mike, how'd it go?
First of all, happy belated Arbor Day to everybody. I hope you enjoyed. I got these poster submissions from Miss Heath, much less than we expected and hoped. I think maybe about 20 submissions. The 8th graders, I guess, as they get towards their teen years, did not submit any. But I was thinking of maybe picking a winner. There was only one submission, 4th grade, so that person is the winner. 5th and 6th were the first. 5th, 6th, and 7th were the most submissions. So I was thinking of picking a winner for each of those, and then maybe for the 8th grades unopposed, pick like a runner-up out of all the grades, and then announce the winners hopefully this week and tell Miss Heath. What does everybody think about that?
That's great. What are the prizes usually? Is it ice cream?
It's a $50 gift card to Canyon Pass.
Wow, oh, nice.
Great. That's great.
So yeah, I mean, I called her a couple of times, and usually it seems in other years it was incorporated into the art program. So that's why we got so many submissions. I guess it wasn't that the case this year, but it's tough for me to, introduce those ideas or tell them how to run their curriculum. But I think if they do incorporate into the art program, we had a lot of submissions. This year was only about 20. So if there are no objections, I'll just pick the winners, and then I'll let Ms. Heath know. Also, Miss Powers runs the Sickles Age Kids and Younger program. I didn't really connect with her this week about what she did last Tuesday, but I'll connect with her, and usually her programs are great.
Mike, I had if I may, Dave, I had a note on my calendar to ask you about the artwork I think it was a couple of meetings ago. I said that I would look at assembling it in a sort of single art piece. So all the kids had a level of recognition. So my question would be, this year being different than other years, do you think that's a good idea this year? Or do you think maybe we should wait for the sickle stuff to come and then I could look at it doing something?
I think it's a great idea. And I mentioned this to Miss Heath. She's going to get back to me. She hasn't, whether or not, because the kids' names are on it and whether or not we can actually display it publicly. I don't see a problem, but she said she'd get back to me.
Okay, so I'll just sit tight. The intention was to have something produced in time for Love Where You Live Day.
Right.
And the tickler in my calendar was about 6 days ago. So I'm or whenever you got them back, actually. But then my point is, I don't know if I have the time now. So why don't, do you expect to hear from Jo Heath sooner than later?
I can email her tomorrow and just follow up with it.
Okay. All right. I'll wait to hear that.
Okay. I'll let you know.
Another idea, and this kind of brings me to something else kind of Arbor Day related. So the Arbor Day Foundation does the Tree City USA awards. And so we have our sticker that needs to be applied to the town signs. Maybe if we wanted to award the Arbor Day art winner with their gift certificate at the sign, and we can take a photo of putting this, the sticker on with the winner. I don't know, just spitballing here, but it seems like, we don't have to do it for Love Where You Live. We can do it any day.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
It's one for each grade. So it'll be 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Obviously 8th did not submit. So we would pick another runner up. So potentially 5 kids. It's tough to get them all in one spot, but if we maybe pick 1 or 2, that'd be great if they wanted to volunteer with their parents.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, just nice press release. Sorry, I'd be happy to help with that if we can get that photograph.
Yeah. It's a great.
Yeah, so we'll kind of maybe talk offline about that one, about when and where. All right, so we covered off on Arbor Day, native species list project, expanding it to do not plant list. Just an update from Brooks on JCP&L. JCP&L is not going to start the transmission line trimming until after June 22nd to get away from the school, to wait till the last day of school. This will be on Ridge Road, basically from, roughly from Hants to Fairhaven Road, but you'll notice that the transmission lines actually go from the Fairhaven side across to the Rumson side and then back to the Fairhaven side as you go up the hill to along the natural area. But anyway, that's JCPL's like kind of every 4 years trimming the transmission lines. Learned a bit about power lines today. You have the distribution lines, the transmission lines, the primary lines, and the secondary lines. And in that order is how JCP&L fixes things when there's power outages. So anyway, learn all sorts of stuff here on the Shade Tree Commission. But anyway, I think that's all of the project updates. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Oh, Christy, sorry.
I did receive an update from Chris Larson on L, native species list. He said he and Peter have met or discussed this, and they have more of a do not plant list versus a recommended plant list that has become quite extensive. So I will pass on the note that you mentioned to share it with Shari, and maybe she can help kind of decipher what's best. That's
great. Yeah. Thank you. Please pass along my thanks to Mr. Larson. Yeah, I think that's really good. Yeah, share any insight you have would be great, and look for follow-up from those folks, please. Anybody else have any other questions or comments or concerns? Oh, Chris, go ahead.
I just remembered the natural area guys were talking about. They got a lot of their trees that they purchased from Privateras over on Harding. So maybe they have, you know, they could give us a deal on some of the trees that we're looking,
Really?
if they have them, or tell them our idea. Maybe they can, you know, start them and use them down the road or down the line in a couple of years.
Got my Christmas tree from Trivet Towers this year. That was a cut tree though. So that's me killing trees, not planting trees.
Can I ask David, how's the deer situation in Fairhaven?
We have them
everywhere.
They're all right. So it is
strong, quite strong.
So one thing I would recommend, I've been really trying to get the word out on it, especially if you're trying to promote, you know, tree planting and those cherries. Deer protection guards are so important, because then the homeowners will plant the trees and by the winter they will be garbage. So a lot of homeowners don't even notice, but during buck rutting season, the bucks rub their antlers, you know, on the bark, and it could take one night and they've rubbed too much of the bark off, and you know, the trees will continue to grow, which is why most people don't even notice while the trunk rots away. So I use, you know, I just buy a roll of, it's called garden fencing from Home Depot. They sell more expensive stuff. You know, A.M. Leonard has deer guards that the industry uses, but Home Depot has a roll of it. It's rigid plastic. It looks like chicken wire, but it's plastic. Like you can cut it with scissors, but it's stiff enough that just making that rounded shape around the trunk, it'll stand there. You don't need a stake or anything on it. I just use like twisting ties. And as long as I put it on at the end of the summer when I'm like packing up the yard, and then I take it off in the spring. Most places you could just tell them leave it on for like 5 years. Because if you could scratch your nails on the trunk, you know, so can the deer.
Right.
But
so do deer pick specific, do deer target specific types of trees?
Young, just soft. They're, you know, anything that we're planting new, they're going to rub it. So some species are worse than others. Tulip and linden, you know, their bark is really soft compared to say the oak trees. But even so, they'll rub on anything. But it's because it's young. That bark is not the same, you know, as a mature tree's bark.
Sure.
But yeah, if you can scratch with your nails, the deer can ruin it. So you know, maybe even that could be something that some type of information you could pass out. It's just such a shame when you see new trees planted and then I drive by and they're just mauled by the deer.
Yeah. No, that's a good note. I appreciate it. We definitely have a deer population here. There are like nine
I've seen
live in my yard.
Yeah, I figured most neighborhoods over there do, you know, see the deer often.
Yeah.
That's another good list also to have if you know, to talk to the residents about, you know, deer resistant species. You know,
seems like a valid social media post too.
Yes,
I'm already writing a note.
That's a great one. So I use a lot. If you just search Rutgers deer resistant, Rutgers has a good list that you can query by, you know, perennial shrubs, trees, etc. And their ratings are pretty good.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Good idea. Sherry, I hope you'll join us for our next our monthly meetings. This has been super insightful. Thank you. Does anybody have any further questions, comments, concerns on the agenda items before we kick to public participation? All right, I'm going to move over to take a look at the attendees. Chris, do you want to?
Yes, if you have a question, please raise your hand using the raise hand feature and I will move you over. I see Mayor Halperin has joined us. Good evening, Mayor. Any questions? All right. Mr. Brian, any comments? No hands raised. No.
Wow, we must have been so comprehensive that no one has any questions for us. Amazing. Well, look, an hour and 15 minutes in here, I'll call it, guys. Thank you very much. Everybody's continued efforts are really appreciated. I know some of this stuff is, you know, it just keeps coming. So, but you know, I am confident that we're all doing great work here, and the town will appreciate this. I look forward to seeing you all in person at the, some version of our of the Love Where You Live event, and or the potential Arbor Day sign sticker event. All good events in the future. But thanks everybody for your continued participation. Any objection to ending the meeting? I would make a motion to end.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed?
I'm in favor.
There you are.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry, guys. I was studying with my daughter a test. I must have missed that. But have a great night. I appreciate everyone's work. I really do.
All right. Thanks all. Have a good evening. Appreciate your efforts.
Guys.